Test, test, test. Can anybody hear me?
John, can you hear me? We got a quorum now. I think we're ready to get started. If we can call the meeting to order, please. I did. Hello, do you hear me? Yeah, it's lighted up. So are we ready to call the meeting to order, please? Okay, I want to thank each of you for being here and Happy New Year to everybody. We'll start, I guess, with the roll call that I'm supposed to do. So Wayne McLean. Here. Hugh Rawls is not. Miller's not. John's not. Dana Jones,
Present.
John Browning, and Board Member Emeritus Jeff Hathorn. Welcome, sir. It's nice to have you. So we need a motion, please, to approve the minutes from October 6, 2021.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, do we have any further discussion? All in favor, say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. I want to take a moment to thank each of you for your presence today, and again, wish us all a happy 22, and I hope this year turns a table on a lot of bad things that we've seen in the last couple of years and brings us a lot of new opportunities. And I want to take just a minute and say thank you for your service to our community, for being a good steward of public property and public and city interests. Every one of us donate a lot of our energies, and I, as chairman, just want to say thank you, and it's very much appreciated. Also, I'd like to take a minute and bring to our discussion Mr. Ewell. I know each of you probably have read the newspaper and seen the announcement that John is going to be leaving us in a few months, and we need to say extra prayers for his wife and his family as they go through their journey of recovery and healing. And we also will miss you, John. And I wanted to open the floor for a couple minutes in my opening comments to maybe express our mutual feelings. I know I'm looking at John up here, but John, thank you for everything you've done for 20 years or 14.
Yeah.
It seems like 20. It's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. Wayne and I were talking earlier about previous administrators at the airport and what a wonderful, wonderful change that happened when you arrived, and how much we've grown and developed and improved. That friendly smile that's so important to pilots flying in. I've had the privilege of renting a hangar for 35 years as of this year, and in 35 years, we've improved a lot. And we are a beautiful, beautiful airport. We're a beautiful, beautiful aviation community. And John, you've had a big, big part of where we are today. So from my heart, thank you. And Wayne, we'll just go to you if that's all right.
Okay, thank you. John, just can't thank you enough for all you've done for the airport. I think if I was telling Don Holmes a couple of weeks ago or last week, I think if you looked up dedicated employee in Webster's dictionary, there'd be John Ewell. And I mean that sincerely. So, I mean, the fly-in, the unbelievable, Jeff Hawthorne and I were talking about the unbelievable hours that you put in on the fly-in is just amazing. So I wish you and your family the best, and I thank you for everything that you've done for our airport.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. Enjoyed.
Nothing
I'd be remiss
Next.
if I didn't.
Yes, I don't.
Is my turn yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, John, we'll miss you. I've known John a long time. I've known his dad and my dad used to fish together. That's how far back we go. And he's never found a person he didn't like. Heck, I never think he's found somebody trying to move on the airport that he didn't like. He always likes them. He's always presented a positive view of everything. And we're really going to miss you. I wish you well on your journey, and I wish your wife, she'll be in our prayers, and hope you get all that straightened out and come back one day.
Okay, thank you, John.
John, just another thank you for your services. We have certainly enjoyed working with you, and most of my comments you and I talked about after they were in the newspaper, and it's been a pleasure to be on this advisory board with you as the airport manager. We really are going to miss you, just like everybody has said.
Thank you, Dana. And the check's in the mail.
And Melissa, would you like to speak? I think you have to turn your mic on.
She might.
our entire lives and got together, and it's been a great joy to work with you. Add nothing but value, added nothing but value to the city, community, all the people whose lives you've touched, and everybody else that it's so good of life will also be in my prayers. And we'll miss you, and I agree with John. I hope you everything turns out beautifully and you come back.
Mr. Hathaway?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
John, Jeff, I want to thank you for 12 years of association on the board. I came here with a spirit that I saw in you. And I intended all that time to back you up because of your leadership and your humanity. I think you've been a tremendous asset to this community. I've met your family, and my heart breaks for you. And I wish you nothing but the best, my brother.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. All in God's hands here. This is likely one of the reasons you put me here. So thank you for your kind words there.
Well, thank you, each one of you. And John, we will be in touch and we'll look forward to regular updates. And hopefully it'll be at least a couple more meetings before you're gone. We also need to remember in our prayers, Hugh Rawls. I think he was in the hospital yesterday or something. And hopefully he's doing better now. I think John said he was. That's it for my opening comments. I think the next on the agenda is public comments. Is there any public comments? Yes, sir.
Hey, Judd, I've got a public comment. Let me see if I can put something together here. And I've said many, many times, it is not me. I have just been standing on the shoulders of this advisory board that's had the well-being of this airport squarely in its sights. That was obvious from the first meeting. And I can't tell you how much energy I've gotten from this board. And also we need to acknowledge the progress that Passero Associates and the leadership of Andrew Halesko and his effect on this airport. I think he saw a vision many, many years ago and the board picked up on that. And I picked up on the board picking up on that. And here we are, standing at the precipice of great things that will happen with this tremendous facility that you folks have put together. So again, I've done nothing but try to pass on the board's attitude and love of this airport. Thank you for all of your kind words. And it's not the last you'll see of me. Got too much time and energy invested in this to stay away. So thank you for all your well wishes. And right back at all of you. Thank you, Judd.
Thank you, John. I thought of one more thing too while you were speaking, John. We've all enjoyed working together. And we've the whole board and the city administration too. And your work has just been a beautiful thing along with Andrew and his group. And it's wonderful when we can see such progress. You don't always get to see it, especially as public servants and serving the way we do. And, we all serve for a variety of reasons. And some of us serve a lot extra. And John, you're one of those someones. I'm a guy that goes to the airport normally on Saturday and Sunday after church. So I get to see who's working the weekends. And John Ewell has worked so many weekends. Yeah, my heart's broke for him many a time, when it's weekend after weekend after weekend because there's nobody else. I mean, I volunteered and I was told I wasn't qualified to take his place a couple times. Seriously, John has sacrificed above and beyond the call of duty so wonderfully. So John, thank you. And we surely stand in tribute to you for all your great work. Okay, let's move on with the agenda.
My pleasure. Labor of love here, Judge.
All right, thank you, John. So now we'll open it up for public comments. Is there any? And I think we'll save the fly-in for a little bit later. That didn't get on the agenda, but we'll add that as number 4B. So is there any public comments at this time? No public comments. We'll move on. And John, we're ready for your, we're ready for Andrew. Number 4A, a discussion on long-term leases. I think it's important that we just remember that we've discussed this now for months and months. And we're having a workshop on Monday at 3 o'clock. And during that workshop, we're meeting with the commissioners to hopefully solidify our plan. In the meantime, I know everybody's put a lot of heart and soul into this project and this process that we've waited for years and years. And I just love seeing that big jet fly into our airport every time we are graced with his presence. And it can't help me but be thankful for our first real regular jet that comes and goes on a regular basis. But all that's part of this hangar project. So is there any further discussion? Andrew, maybe this is a good time for you just to give us your overview. I think we talked about this at last meeting.
Several things. We don't have a whole lot of new information to share for the workshop on Monday, other than getting some specific samples of done.
Is Andrew's Mac on?
Is your mic on? Okay. I hear you.
Hear me, John? So, and by the way, let me just mention that we are attempting to address the issues at the airport. This didn't start yesterday, so that we can have connectivity and better opportunity to work with Zooms and internets and phones. But as it strokes so many aspects of society, we're having a parts delay issue that's getting some job out there. So we fully intend to make correct the issue that we're dealing with several months, but we got to have some parts.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes, very much. All right, Andrew,
Okay,
keep
so
going.
getting back a few things, and I guess I didn't, even though my light was on, I had to press it again, so sorry about that. We do have a formal presentation. That's a part of the submission that you have for Monday. And I'm going to talk about the last page in a minute, but the other thing that you specifically have that I think it's worth reading through is you've got a set of architecture and building design standards that another airport similar to you is from Fernandina Beach. So when somebody wants to build a private building on their airport, here's the list of things that they've got to consider. And that I think is very important. If the city does choose to move forward with the hangars, you're going to have your own list. I think theirs is a little long, actually. And I think there's a lot of things inside this list, and they know that. I've discussed it with them before too. There's a lot of things inside here that are already addressed by code and building design that don't need to be in here. But there's a lot of good things related to the size of buildings, exterior finishes, sizes of doors, types of doors. I think that what I've heard from you all so far is that if the city's choosing to do this, you're going to set the bar high for what you want to see. You want to see a nice development and nice looking hangars, not just a series of rectangular boxes. And it doesn't take a lot of money to do that, but you want the facility to be nice and something both the private operators can be proud of and so can the city. So that's one of the attachments. And then there's a sample ground lease from Fernandina because they've done the same thing that you're doing. There's a copy of their lease, which is 64 pages. And the same thing, there's a sample ground lease from St. Augustine that has done the same. And there's a 17 pages. And I just find that very interesting personally, that one of the ground leases is 17 pages and the other is 64. You all can determine how many pages yours will be if you want to move forward, but they've got good verbiage in there. And I think a lot of the things that the city wants to protect themselves for, like what happens in the terms of default on leases and things like that, you can already look how some other attorneys have already addressed it because those clauses are in the agreements. In terms of the most important part of what I think is going to happen on the workshop on Monday will actually be the last page of the handout. And that is really talking about if you want to move forward, what are the architectural design standards and what are your real physical expectations of what the private operators would do. And then the last is the specific lease terms and conditions. Whatever worries that anyone has and whatever you want to be able to prepare for legally, let's talk about what those things are and determine if those things are reasonable to the people that would sign the long-term leases with the city. So I think that's going to be a lot of the discussion on Monday. And Matt and I will be back here at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon. So if there's any other questions, we'll do our best to answer.
Any questions for Andrew then?
Throw one thing out. This morning, by Charlie Douglas, and he asked about the city's position with regard to selling the hangar spaces instead of leasing. He expressed the concern that the cost of putting a hangar up 100 by 100 would be very high, and he was concerned about the prospect of it reverting back after 40 years. With the big investment made in the hangar, I advise that we not have that discussion at all. I had not been privy to that discussion at all about selling those spaces. I won't go into my thoughts right now, but I wanted to go ahead and throw that out there so that you don't get blindsided by it. That you come up on Monday. Y'all be thinking about it.
Thank you. And Mr. Holmes, we have addressed that too in years gone by, where Andrew has picked out spots over by CDR or what used to be CDR that a person could buy and do their own thing, their own way and own the land. And then within our airport, you know, our group has suggested that we never give up ownership of the ground. So that's.
Judd, if I can just add to that.
Yes.
Charlie called me and shared the same concerns with me. And I just want to tell you the same thing I told him, that the sale of municipal airport land for an aeronautical use, building a hangar and then having an airplane in the hangar that taxis from a private hangar onto a municipal airport is one of the most frowned upon things by the federal government. You will have an absolute battle on your hands if you try to sell those parcels and then allow them to own that land and taxi their airplane onto your airport. And that's exactly what I told Charlie.
Well, you obviously didn't discourage him.
Don, I guess not, since he called you to see if he could get a different answer, I guess. But I just want you to know that it comes up frequently. It's just, I would tell you, I'm not going to advise you to do that in any way. And I would tell you, I would advise you to not even ask or even have that conversation with the FAA. It's just, it's a through the fence issue. It's no different than the federal government saying that if you own the land on I-95, that you can just build an exit on your land and just drive right on the I-95 on the federal highway. It's just absolutely frowned upon. So that was my conversation with Charlie too.
Thank you,
So
sir.
it's not a surprise, but I don't know if they talked to Don before me or after me, but he's no, well, after then, because I spoke with him last week. But I would say the same thing to you on Monday at 3 o'clock too. Just it's best to not go down that path and even try and make that happen, because it's not going to happen
And I think
without
that,
a battle.
Mr. Chairman, and in our strategic plan, if you look back, we discussed this many times and always opted for lease, not sell,
That's correct.
even above what Andrew just said.
That's true. Yep. Thank you, Andrew. Don't leave yet. Might be more questions. Okay, and I had one more thing, Andrew, while you're still here, is I did follow up with Tim Parker to get an opinion that any private hangar put on airport municipal property would be a taxable asset, which would bring the city revenue. So $250,000 building be somewhere around $5,000 worth of annual tax, which a couple grand would come to the city. So there is a positive, and I'm saying this, that's what I understood him to say. So, but my follow-up was, is there's income.
But the ad valorem tax would have to be assessed, I guess, against the city, and we'd have to collect it because he doesn't tax personal property, right?
I don't know that answer, Don.
I think he can only tax real estate. So if he can only tax real estate, then
He said he couldn't tax the property, but he could tax the building. So maybe you better not hold that. We better get a clarification.
Like a trailer on a lot, Don, would it be, they, you've got to pay a tax tangible or whatever to that.
trailer on a lot,
But it's
usually a
very
license
small.
tag. I mean, they get a motor vehicle tag. But you may be a tangible property tax that you can assess to it. I don't know. We'd have to talk to.
You look at tangible property. You look at tangible property taxes, they're pretty low. That's not a lot of money. I think you're way off on the numbers, but that could be looked at. I think selling it is, what's going to happen 40 years from now? It might be sitting in the middle of a huge airport. I mean, really, it could be a big airport the way the state's growing and just.
I didn't advocate. I just threw it out there so you
I
guys
think it's
wouldn't
a
be
good,
hit by with a surprise.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have associations with many, many airports, not as much as Andrew by a long shot. But I do have associate, and I could say universally that all the properties except one on New Smyrna Beach is all leases where people own private hangars. And it has a lot to do with the federal funding through the FAA. Tony Perna down there at New Smyrna Beach somehow wangled ownership of property on that airport, which has been a real problem for them. And I don't think we'd ever even want to go there, consider it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, and for 4B, if we could maybe discuss the fly-in on February the 5th. Would you like to speak to us, Ms. Wallace? Thank you.
Absolutely. My name is Lara Wallace. For those of you who don't know me, I am working with the Friends of the Palatka Airport, Inc., which is a newly formed nonprofit with the idea of helping generate revenue and supporting the Palatka Municipal Airport. So we, in partnership with the Palatka Municipal Airport, are looking to revive the fly-in and classic car show that everybody loves so dearly. So I've had the pleasure of working with both John and Judd and Jeff up here and planning that. I feel like we are in a good stage. So far, we have spoke with Mr. Holmes this morning as far as what the city needs or what we need from the city and trying to get all that clarified. We have Civil Air Patrol coming to help us, people with some skill sets, working on fuel and things like that. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Fuel truck.
Yes, sir.
Don't know yet. Not to jump in, but after our conversation, I sent an email so that we have everybody on the same link and try to sort through some of the issues that you guys raised. As of the time I spoke with John this morning, he had not received an answer from our fuel supplier as to whether or not they'd be able to provide a fuel truck. He'd made the inquiry, but they had not responded. I think they were having to go up the chain of command to figure it out. The fuel truck would have to be transported here by lowboy. It couldn't be driven apparently, which is another issue. And so they were trying to work out those things and determine. In the email that I sent out, I asked what our deadline was for an answer, because I know that I understand that some promises have been made about providing fuel for some of the pilots that fly in. Obviously, if that's not going to be something that's workable, there's going to have to be some notice of that. So I think that's a priority, is trying to figure out whether the supplier is going to be able to provide a truck. Otherwise, I don't know if anyone has an option. I was not told of any option if there's not a truck.
When we met
Little
yesterday,
update on that, Mr. Holmes, can you hear me?
Yes, John.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, I just spoke with Josh Simpson, the regional sales manager for Georgia, Florida, and Alabama, and he is very optimistic. He's got a truck floating around Florida, and that he can get it to us. This is brand new, an hour ago, so I think that's hopefully going to be worked out by the end of the day. But that certainly is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, thing we have to solve right now.
You know how many
But it's
gallons?
looking good.
You know how many gallon that truck is, John?
No, I don't. But I'm sure it's going to be, 1,500, 2,000.
Okay.
So John, you contemplate them making a commitment or not by the end of the
I do.
day?
Yes.
Not just optimism,
And-
but they'll say absolutely yes or no, right?
Well, and it may not be by the end of the day. The encouraging thing is he said, I've got one floating around. He first thought he was looking for two. And I said, no, sir, no, just one. He said, okay, well, I've got one floating around. I've got some floating around Florida, and I think we can comp that to you.
Beautiful.
What about transportation for the truck, John?
I'm waiting to hear back from him. He didn't mention it would be hard transportation. He does know that it's got to be, put on a transport and transported. It can't be driven. So, hopefully he's counting that as part of his contribution to the event. But I'll let everybody know just as soon as I hear.
Obviously, that's the linchpin to this event being pulled off. I'd like to just tell people that aren't initiated that we brought these people with these aircraft through my association with More Birds of America. And it cost, just for a T6 Texan, which is a run-of-the-mill airplane, cost $500 an hour to run that airplane. And people in general just say, gee, I'd like a ride in your airplane. Well, we do veterans events and so forth all the time. And it's a constant battle to try to be able to afford to bring these airplanes. An engine overhaul, which has to be done about every 800 hours, that's $600 or $60,000 on that airplane. It's $250,000 on a P-51, which hopefully I can bring one or two of those this time. But obviously I have to at least commit gas and oil to these people with the good nature and spirit to bring these aircraft to share with our public.
All right.
Obviously the fuel is a linchpin.
Thank you, Jeff, for all those 10 years of doing that. That's huge. Huge. Without it, we don't have a fly-in.
And they're all good people. But like all good people, they have other lives. And so I have to keep calling them. And when was that event again? I just talked to you last week. And by the way, Dennis O'Keefe is in the Dominican Republic right now. But he'll be back on the 12th, and he has committed to marshaling the traffic. And Dennis is a pro at this. He runs the marshaling of the traffic in the United States' second largest air show, which is Sun and Fun. So we couldn't have a better guy to do that. And safety, obviously, is his number one priority. So you can actually turn it over to him and not worry.
Thank you, brother.
What are we looking at as far as COVID protocols with the Omicron variant being growing?
In the past, it has been as long as it's outdoors, we'll provide hand washing stations. We need to make sure that we put up the COVID protocols, the signs, ensuring that they stay 6 feet apart. But that's definitely something we want to keep track of with the uprising COVID. So just try and continue to monitor the sites and make sure we're up to standards on that.
Just get with community affairs and make sure that with Eddie, you get the standards that we adopted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Well, Ms. Wallace, thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
We're
much.
excited.
Thank you for
We'll
your
all
time.
be there on February the 5th.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next thing on our agenda is, John, you're up, sir, with an airport update. And you've got 28 minutes.
This will not take 28 minutes, so I hope somebody bought some cupcakes for after the meeting. If I could, Sonny, get you to pull up the slides. This is a look back on fiscal year 2020-21. This is not the normal monthly briefing. We haven't had a couple of meetings, but I wanted to recap how last year ended up. And next slide, please. You can see we've had just about as many takeoffs and landings here as last year. Next slide, please. 100 low lead sales were up. And the more impressive next slide. Back at one. Yeah, look at the numbers of jet fuel. Next slide. There you go. So we have a lot to that to our hopefully our future tenant, Mr. Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Shop, are a large part due to that, as well as another jet or two that seems to be coming here a little more often. Next slide. And here's how the revenue hashed out. And next slide, please. And that's due to the raising of rent prices. Our rent revenue went up. Next slide, please. And here's the big picture. If you look at the green number on the right, that's what we took in, and then expenditures in the red. So we eked out an operational profit of about 7,000 plus. We got to add a little bit to that. Thank you to the FAA. Next slide, please. They gave us 23,000 in COVID relief money. So when added to the operational profit, comes up about 30,689, 91 in the green. And you can see the payment cuts into that, obviously. And we carried, like we do every year, we carry fuel inventory into the next fiscal year. So we'll start with $30,000 worth of fuel into the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. And I'm not sure exactly how accurate these numbers are. They kind of change as projects change and stuff. Help me out here, Andrew and Matt, if I'm very far off. And I think that's money for the hangar project and the taxiway alpha rehabilitation. Next slide, please. And there's the elephant in the room. Good news is written in green. I don't know if you could read it, but we're going to get some airport rescue funding again this year to the tune of $59,000, which will help with the cause. Next slide, please. Plug that in. bear with me a second. Yeah, the taxiway Alpha Phase 2 is going to start. Was supposed to start before the fly-in, but that would have meant closing taxiway Alpha, so we could not do that. We have put off starting the taxiway Alpha project until after February 5th. And the T hangar project will be starting soon. And we're going to have a LED lighting installation pre-construction meeting, I believe in a week or so. So LED lighting installation is going to start very soon. And we have painted 2 out of the 3 hangars west of the entrance. And we should have funding enough from the new airport maintenance fund that came about as a result of raising hangar rents last year. We should have money to paint the 3rd row of hangars. And I don't know if you've driven by, just painting the white trim like we did has really improved the looks pretty significantly. Next slide, please. The Jet Refuel Truck. Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. The bids came in a little bit higher than we were expecting, as naturally everything's more expensive these days. And Mr. Kaufman helped us come up with the deficit. Thank you so much. The commission has authorized the mayor to engage in a sales contract with Global Aviation Services, and we're going to get a brand new 3,000-gallon jet truck. And they should start literally building that. I'm guessing within a week or 2 that it's going to take us to get the paperwork back to them. And we're still looking to fill positions out here. I guess we have 2 to fill now. And we've already taken care of the fly-in briefing, and that leads me to what the newspaper picked up. I'm sorry about the timing. I truly wanted to, inform you folks about my decision before it made it into the community. I forgot that the newspaper is on the distribution list for this agenda, and they happened to see that item and called me. So I had to speak of it. That's how it got out in the newspaper too soon. So I apologize for that. Anyway, I said my piece earlier. It's been a pleasure working with you folks. I'd do it again. No doubt. Please press on there. With the growth that we see coming this way from Jacksonville and St. Augustine, I see a bright future at an airport that when I got here was really just a step or 2 above a privately owned airport. So you folks are doing a great job, and it's been my pleasure to be able to work with you. And that's it, Jeff.
Thank you, John. Mr. McLean?
Hey, John, I got a question on your report. Refresh my memory.
Mhm.
Now, I know we talked about this on the hangar painting update. So we're painting along on the hangars, and they find an issue with the hangar in terms of structural issue. What are we doing about that?
Well, if you remember, the raise that we approved was to be solely dedicated to hangar maintenance.
I
At
get
the
it.
time, the time for hangar appearance was the biggest need. If as we do find hangar issues, I do have another line item separate from the $25 a month increase maintenance fund that I would have money to address a different hangar issue. Don't know if I'm explaining this right, but what we're doing is, as the $25 yields enough money to paint one building, we're spending all of that money to paint that building. But I do have another line item called hangar maintenance, building maintenance, that could be addressed if somebody finds a bad door, bad rollers, or a problem. And that $25 a month, if any's left over after painting a building, that money could also be used for hangar maintenance.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. Again, thank you for your dedication to our airport.
Be right back at you, Wayne. Thank you.
And John, we might have a few more questions, just 1 minute, but
Sure.
Kyle, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can. I'm sorry. It took me just a minute to find my mute button. Yes, I can hear y'all loud and clear.
Well, thank you. I guess we'd all like to say a big thank you to you again for all that you do for us year in and year out, and especially for this fuel truck help. That's an amazing thing for a little community. So I'll just express it for all of us. Thank you very, very much, Kyle.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'd like to say thanks to John. I really enjoyed working with him. Of the 16 airports we work with, he's certainly one of the more pleasurable, kind, and personable airport managers we deal with. So we will certainly miss you, John.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Likewise, we appreciate everything you've done, and please keep up your good work there with Jonathan Griffith and Mandy Tucker and Sonny and Mr. Holmes, the mayor, and everybody. We really appreciate all the support you guys have given us throughout the years, which is literally staggering. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you all very much. Okay, what other questions do we have for John on the monthly report? No other questions? All right, well, John, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to next month's report. And I think of a couple other things that maybe we should bring up is you mentioned, John, the vacancies. I know Mr. Holmes, I'm sure Mr. Holmes and the mayor are working hard at candidates to take over our airport. And I know our board has many times engaged in conversations about privatization of the airport. And these are some things that maybe we should all be thinking about to give an opinion. Two, maybe in the next meeting, we can put that on the agenda and discuss that a little bit as the options that might be. And
Judd, I've been chastised by Andrew Halesko not to use the word privatization.
Oh,
so
thank you. I will change my notes. And what is the buzzword?
well, we can talk about managerial services and FBOs and so forth, but not privatization, right?
Commercial operators are good.
Okay, I stand corrected. Commercial operators for the Palatka Municipal Airport.
Our resident wordsmith.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Holmes. So we need to all be kind of thinking about all this. And we know that, the golf course prospered greatly when they switched gears, and, maybe the airport would do the same. Of course, Wayne, they won't need you and me anymore if that happens, but change has got to happen sometime along the way.
And I will just mention that the job posting is together, not out. We've had a few little sidetracks the last couple of days, but and we're going to take all applicants to the posting, but we had the good fortune of through contacts the mayor had of meeting with an individual who, not prejudging or knowing who will apply, but if he were the only one to apply, he would be a very solid candidate.
Beautiful.
For the position of at least interim manager, and then he may want to even submit a proposal for overall operations. Mr. Lesko is familiar with him. Again, I'm not prejudging, but I just wanted you to know, have some comfort and confidence that, and I've spoken with him by phone after our meeting, and he's definitely interested in putting in a application, and if he should be selected and coming down right now. So I think Andrew would agree that if he should come down, we would I think I'll be pretty impressed with his credentials and abilities and his prior experience.
Well, that's reassuring very much. All right, well, that we can talk more about that then in the next meeting, and we'll put that on the agenda. I think it's also very noteworthy to recognize Charlie Douglas. It's very rare that we have a helicopter endorsement that hits our local airport, Mr. McLean. And so he has officially won that title. And that's a great accomplishment for 28J. We don't see a lot of activity that way. So that's a real nice improvement to our little local community. We're a little bit early, meaning like we have 12 minutes left or 13. So is there anything else that we should discuss topic wise, or? Andrew, you don't have something more to offer, sir? Thank you. If we get done too early, then Melissa might not.
I just wanted to add that there was a national webinar right before Christmas to discuss the new infrastructure bill funding from the FAA towards all airports. And Palatka is going to get a significant amount of money from that. $25 billion going to airports. So I think the first year funding, $294,000 in new FAA money, not similar to the airport improvement program where you have $1 million taxway underway funded by the airport improvement program. This is the infrastructure bill. Right now you're slated for $294,000 for each of the next 5 years. And those can be towards, similar projects, other projects. We're actually recommending to airports to really look at some projects that wouldn't necessarily be high priority projects for the FAA. So they wouldn't normally get funded by the AIP. So we'll be talking about that in the future. There's nothing specifically noted yet exactly where the funds could go, but I'm sure we'll be talking about that in the future. But it's going to end up being about $1.5 million of new FAA money just for Palatka and your whole category of airports. You'll still have the AIP money that builds taxiways and fixes your runway and things like that. But you're absolutely going to get a solid share of that what we call BIL money bill from the infrastructure bill. So good for you.
Man, that's huge, Andrew. Thank you. That is huge, huge, huge. Yeah.
We're still learning more about the rules on it. That does have a different set of rules, but nothing strange. You have lots of projects in your CIP and your master plan. There's lots of things that you can do with it. But I'm sure we'll be talking about it more exactly. It can do airfield, it can build roads, it can do all the things that you always want to do.
Wow.
So it'll just be another source of funds.
So maybe we need to take that commercial operations off the table and just stick with how we are.
The one thing we can't do with that, I will tell you right now, because the question was actually asked on the national webinar, is whether or not the money could be used for revenue producing projects. And the answer is no. You can't build a T hangar, you can't build a fuel farm, you can't have a jet fuel truck, things like that you can make money from. That's the one thing you can't do with it. Similar. Don, I'm not sure about that. That would be a question that we could pose to the FAA.
What did you say, Mr. Holmes?
Debt reduction.
Debt reduction. Okay, cool.
Yep. So just want to put that out there.
Wow, that is wonderful. Very good. Any comments on that?
I'd just like to say one thing. I think it's good that we left. There's a lot of discussion about leaving the lengthening of the runway on one of our projects. And I think that's good with the new money coming in, that's going to be looked at and is being looked at. So, we made a choice. There was a lot of discussion. Should we take it out or should we leave it in? We left it in and you never know what we may be getting. And because we've got it in there, we have a shot at stuff. So I think it's good. That was long range planning. Good job, Airport Board.
Thank you, sir. All right, anything else?
Judd, I just had one comment. I wanted to apologize in advance. I am not able to attend the workshop on Monday, January 10th at 3. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dana. And I have to say the same. I have to apologize. I have a previously set meeting for the whole day, but Mr. McLean is going to take my chair. And so you'll be in better hands. But yes, thank you.
I cannot also, we're doing a review of the 5-year work program. We have to review it and turn it into the governor on Monday. And so we're doing that on Monday. And of course, we have the opening of the session on Tuesday morning. So I'm going to be in Tallahassee. So
Thank you.
I'll lose a bunch of us.
Does that mean Wayne's going to be the only advisory board member present?
I lost him. Yeah, unplug that. Yeah, the mic, the mic. Oh.
That does change my role.
Test, test.
Talk to the mayor, Mr. Holmes, about, whether that's have value to this board, but it's been a real pleasure to serve. I'm very excited about when.
Well, congratulations, and we are too, but we definitely need you.
You're stuck with us.
So there's no thought on this chair, and I think every chair, that we hope that you'll stay with us for another 10 or 15 at least. Thank you. Thank you. All right, any further discussions? Well, if not, we stand adjourned, and we'll see y'all next month. Thank you.